Good morning students, this is Mr. Rao. Today here I come to conclude this topic, that is malaria. Then in this session now I will explain here the total time period taken by the different varieties of species in a erythrocytic cycle. Thereafter here, what is the incubation period, this one? Once a person get the malaria, what are the stages that involved within that, and that followed by, and what are all the here immunological tests that are all available to us in order to diagnose and confirm the malaria disease in a human beings. Then here what is the prevention and control for this? About all the things let us see now in a detailed way. Coming to here, the first and foremost important thing in this regard, the erythrocytic cycle and how much time it takes place. Once the parasite completes the erythrocytic cycle, then I said here the red blood cells are get produced, here breaks down. Thereafter here hemazoin is a toxic substance that is released into a bloodstream. So once the erythrocytic cycle is get completes, the person will get the malaria fever. So completion of erythrocytic cycle, it here results in the formation of here the hemazoin, and even it releases into the body and it causes the fever also. So here this erythrocytic cycle takes place different times or time periods in a different species. For example, if you come to here see the two important species, one is Plasmodium vivax, whereas the second one is Plasmodium vivae. Both of them takes here 48 hours span of time for completion of exclusively only the erythrocytic cycle. In the same way, the Plasmodium malaria is also there. It takes place here near about 72 hours for completion. That means almost all 3 days, and there you can see the 2 days. Whereas here the Plasmodium falciparum, which is a fatal malarial fever, very dangerous one, it takes place near about 24 hours span of time here for completion of erythrocytic cycle. This Plasmodium falciparum is only one which takes very less time period for completion of the erythrocytic cycle. Right. Coming to the next one, what are the stages that takes place in a malaria fever? Here malaria fever occurs in 3 different stages. Of the 3 different stages, the first one is known as rigor stage. Then what happens in this rigor stage? In this involuntary contraction of here muscles it takes place, which produce the shivering sensation in a patient. The patient shivers a lot when he is suffering from this malaria fever. The particular first stage is known as rigor stage. Second one is known as febrile stage. Here the febrile stage is the second one, as I said. And the first one is the rigor stage, as I said, this one here. During this febrile stage, severe fever, the high fever the patient will get. The temperature, it greatly rises at this stage. This is the second stage of the fever. The third stage is known as here defervescent stage. Defervescent stage is the third stage. Then what happens in this? Generally, even without using any medicine or medicines here, the patient will get profuse sweating. The great sweat he will get, and that here reduces the temperature of a person. So here the temperature will get disappear. During this stage here, the patient feel that the fever here has cured, so he is free from this. Again, based on the type of the species, again it reoccurs. Just now I explained that here 48 hours is taken by Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium vivae. So again this here 3 stages they do commence in case of the 2 species. In case of here Plasmodium malariae, after 3 days, that means 72 days span of time, again these will be get reoccurs. In case of Plasmodium falciparum, after 1 day, that means 24 hours, again these stages get starts. So these are all here 3 different stages of the malaria fever. I said here rigor stage, febrile stage, and here defervescent here stage. And what happens during stages also, we happen to see this one. In this particularly shivering will be taken place. In this particularly temperature it rises, means he will suffer from here high fever, whereas here in this stage profuse sweating will be taken place, and here temperature it drops greatly. So these are all the 3 stages of the malaria parasite. And next one is incubation period. You know very well about this incubation period. So it is here the time period taken in between the invention and manifestation. here. What here is the incubation period for various types of the species. If you take here, this incubation period, it differs in different kind of species. If you take the Plasmodium vivox, the incubation period here, it is for about 14 to 15 days span of time. Whereas in the same case, Plasmodium vivae also takes the same time period, that is 14 to 15 days span of time, that is Plasmodium vivae. And Plasmodium malaria, if you take, it takes place a long time period for manifestation of a disease after its invention. Here, this malaria, it takes place near about 30 days span of time. Whereas the last one, the Plasmodium falciparum, it takes very less time period for manifestation of a disease after its entry. So here very less time, that is nothing but here 9 days span of time. It's one very important thing. If you take the fever and this disease causing parasite, if it enter into the monkey body, monkeys never suffer from this malaria. It's a very important point. And the monkeys, they do act like a reservoir host. They do carry these parasites within their body, and here they do helps in transmission of this here disease also. So the monkeys place here, it's a very important point related to this one. And these monkeys acts like a reservoir host. That is an important point. And they do not suffer from this malaria fever at all. That is an interesting here point related to this malaria disease. Right, what are the tests that are available to us? Immunological tests that are available here for diagnosing the disease. There are the 3 different types of tests are available. All these tests are actually the blood tests. And these 3 tests, it includes, one is IHA. The IHA is abbreviated form, and this indicates that indirect heme agglutination, which is a blood test. And whereas coming to the next one is IFA, it stands for indirect fluorescent antibody test is one thing. And coming to the third test is ELISA test, that we are all well aware about this one. We studied here in case of AIDS and all. Enzyme linked immunosorbent assay is the full form of this one. So with the help of these 3 tests, we can diagnose the disease, and we can here identify the person he is suffering from the malaria is one thing. And next one here, when you see how do you control this malaria, then what are the strategies are following in order to control the malaria? Let us see now here. The first foremost important thing, the malaria is widely spread disease in India. So in order to control this malaria, the Indian government here started one department also, that is Malaria Control Department. And here it carried out one kind of important here program with the name of NMEP. The NMEP, it stands for National Malaria Eradication Program. So this National Malaria Eradication Program working out a lot in order to here eradicate the malaria from India. Right? That is one more step taken by this. Then what is the prevention of this infection? The first and foremost thing is, here the causative here, vector for this disease is nothing but a mosquitoes. If you here reduce the mosquito population, and maximum here you can here eradicate the malaria. So how do you eradicate the mosquito population? In this case, generally the mosquitoes, they do breed here on the stagnant water. This is the basic point that you need to keep it in mind. And here they do lay eggs on the stagnant water, and they do develop the larvae and pupa, then again they do develop into a adult mosquitoes. So whenever the stagnant water is present in and around our house, we should not make sure that the water should not be get clogged. It is one important thing. If at all such a kind of conditions are available, better we need to do one important thing. First important thing is releasing the ducks, such a kind of here animals. Ducks as well as the fishes like a gambusia must be get released into the stagnant water. Then what do? Generally these ducks and gambusia type of fishes, they do feed on the larvae and pupa of the mosquitoes, so the mosquito population can be here reduced greatly. One important thing. And next important thing here it is, some of the insects like dragonflies are allowed to the area where the mosquitoes are present and where do they breed. These dragonflies generally they do feed on the larva and pupa of these mosquitoes. One important thing, so that the mosquito population can be reduced. And next one is insectivorous plants. Like here, see this insectivorous plants like Erythrocyte is one type of here plant. If you here allow to grow in the logged area, waterlogged area, then these insectivorous plants feed on the adult mosquitoes. So because these are the plants which grow in the soil where the nitrogen content is very less, in order to compensate the nitrogen content, here they do feed on the insects, so that from their body they do get the nitrogen. So when you here allow to grow such a kind of Erythrocyte type of plants, they do feed on the insects and helps for eradication of this population. So these are all the here preventive methods. If you take here, generally the mosquito population can be get reduced, so that the disease causing pathogen may not get a chance to get transferred from a infected person to a healthy one. So this is the prevention method. So unfortunately, if a person get the disease, then what is the treatment for that? Let us see now here the treatment. In the then treatment for this here the disease, let us see now in this case. Quinine is the oldest drug that we have been using in order to treat a malaria. Then the quinine is actually get extract from a plant's bark. It's an important bit. Cinchona officinalis is the name of a plant. From its bark you do get extract the quinine, and the quinine is using in order to treat a malaria patients. This is an important here the point. Cinchona is a tree, or Cinchona officinalis is the full form of or the scientific name of this tree. Then this cinchona generally grow in particular here countries in the world. West Indies is one thing, India, Sri Lanka, Java and Peru. All these are the countries. In West Indies, these plants used to grow. In India, they used to grow. And Sri Lanka, here, Java and Peru. These are the countries where these cinchona type of plants will grow naturally. And next one here, the other drugs also can be used in order to treat to this patient. And here unfortunate thing, nowadays this plasmodium has developed the resistance against to the quinine also. Now the quinine is not here working out greatly, but it has been used since past here many years in order to treat the disease. Now the new drugs are here using in order to treat the malaria patient. See the drugs here are Pullutrine is one drug that helps for treat to this malaria patient. Primaquine is one thing. Thereafter chloroquine is another drug. Here camoquine is another drug. Camoprima. All these are the drugs nowadays we are using to treat to the here malaria patient. Along with that, sulfur containing drugs also nowadays we are using in order to treat to that. Here the sulfur here drugs also using. Example for sulfur containing drugs here it includes here sulfadoxine is one thing. Sulfadoxine here is a drug in order to treat to this one. Thereafter here dapsone. Here dapsone is another drug that we are all using for this here, and these are all about all the drugs that we have been using in order to treat the malaria patient. So this is, my friends, all about malaria disease. So the very important concepts related to the malaria we have been studying as of now. I hope you are all enjoyed these sessions and go through this lesson in detail, so that more chances to ask bits on this area, and here very important bits also come across in this chapter, right? Thank you all.